Welcome to my third part of the Loonaverse fairy tale theory. This week we're going to talk about Yeojin's Kiss Later MV and the connections to the fairy tale of the Frog Prince. And at the end I will talk about my theory on why Yeojin is trapped in Eden, as well as how this connects to the Hasul saving Bibi theory. So first of all, let's analyze the fairy tale of the Frog Prince. So a young princess is playing around with a golden ball. She throws the ball into the air and catches it again. But then she fails to catch it and it falls into a well she is sitting by. The well is so deep that she can't even see the bottom of it. She is so devastated and wishes to get the ball back that she would give up all of her possessions just to get back her golden ball. Then the frog pops out of the water and asks her about her concerns. She tells him all about her prized possession, the golden ball, and the frog fetches the ball for her if she is willing to let him live with her, eat from her plate, and sleep on her bed at night. The princess doesn't think that the frog would be able to fetch her golden ball, but is so desperate that she agrees. Now the frog, of course, gets her possession out of the well, no problem. But as soon as the princess has back her golden ball, she runs off to home, not wanting to keep her promise. She is really sure about never seeing the frog again, so that she never has to fulfill her promise. After all, she didn't think about the consequences. But at last the frog arrives at her home in the middle of the night and demands the princess to open the door for him, and to accept that she promised to share everything with him, in a way promising herself to the frog, like a bride would promise to share her life with her groom. Scared, the princess runs to her father, the king, and explains him how she has promised herself to the frog, and that this frog had shown up to their doorsteps, demanding the princess to keep her side of the promise, hoping he could fix the situation for her. But instead of getting her out of the situation, her father tells her that she has to fulfill her bargain and honor their promise. The princess now has no option but to let the frog in and let him eat from her plate and sleep on her pillow. When the frog leaves the castle in the morning, the princess is relieved and thinks her nightmare is finally over, but that's not quite true, since the frog returns at night just to eat from her plate and sleep in her bed again, and that he does for 2 more nights. In the morning of the 3rd day of their alleged marriage, she turns around in her bed and is shocked to see a handsome young prince. It turns out that the frog was cursed by an evil fairy to transform into a frog, and his only way of ever turning back would be to persuade a beautiful young princess into taking him in and letting him live with her for 3 nights. Since this was after his 3rd night of sleeping in her house, he magically turned back into a young handsome prince, and now offered the princess to marry her for real. Now, of course, she accepts and they live happily ever after in the land of the princess's father. I also have to add that there are a lot of different versions to this story, some in which the princess has to kiss the frog, some in which they have to sleep together, and some in which the princess just throws the frog against a wall for him to return to his human form. So take this with a grain of salt. Well, this far, this has been the most basic story of the Loona fairy tale inspirations, but it still has some interesting bits to it, especially seeing it through the eyes of the Loonaverse. But let's first take a look at Yeojin's MV and then we will connect the 2 stories. Just to quickly mention it, but Yeojin and Hasul are the only 2 members that have openings without their color. While Hyunjin's opening is mostly green, it also features her assigned color, yellow. While Hasul's opening is red and yellow and Yeojin's is blue and yellow. But I also have to add that blue was also featured in Yeojin's teaser images as well as yellow. Besides this, there's one interesting detail as well. Heejin and Bibi also feature something that is unique to them. Their intro is in their color, but at the end of the intro the slash after Loona is blue instead of the typical yellow. So it is the inverted color. kind of, but like a lot lighter. And they're also the only two 1/3 members that do not have the typical 1/3 borderless MV, but instead Yeojin has white borders and Baby has VHS tape borders, and her B-side has the typical 1/3 borderless MV as well. Also, something that has bothered me a whole lot is the fact that, especially for the 1/3 subunit, the intros are like wildly different. Yeojin and Yeojin get intros with their names, then Hyunjin and Hasul get these white texts with the titles of their songs. My Sunday and My Melody get these song title plus members' names intros. And I don't know if this has any lore significance, but I guess I'm just telling you. So let's take a look at Yeojin's MV for Kiss Later, or in the words of the Korean title, Kiss Next Time. The MV starts off with Yeojin laying in her bed. I don't know if it only looks like her socks are dirty to me, but it looks like her socks are dirty. They also look similar to the socks that YY members wear, so this could be an interesting reference to the YY members, and especially Eve, who in the Love Forever MV we see having dirty socks after she wanders off into the forest. Now all of a sudden we see things laying on her bed and a pillow that fell down the bed and is laying on the ground. Vivi falling from Eden to Earth confirmed. No, but it is kind of interesting since it must have been done on purpose. Her dress kind of reminds me of one of Chuu's teaser outfits as well. So on her left side we see some sweets, contrasting the barren right side where there's only the pillow on the floor. I feel like the plate in the lower right corner could have some strawberries on it, and it generally reminds me of Yeojin's teaser where she is in this castle-like building with flowers and sweets around her. On the bed are her shoes that also look like YYY's shoes as well. Then we have a rose, another hint to the YYY members. And then a present that was featured in the Carol MV, in which Yeojin holds it in her hands before presumably leaving it somewhere, and then all of a sudden she is holding a bag. And at last there is a Ken doll next to her, kind of like showing us that Yeojin is like a little girl playing with toys and not tidying up, as well as maybe her wishing for a white knight to be her hero and savior. When she sits up again, one of the trays with the sweets and the stuff that was laying on her bed are gone again. Now we see three men in front of Yeojin wanting to give her gifts. I speculate a lot on who these three might be, and I still don't have a clear answer. But in my Loona 1/3 analysis, I theorized that the foreign looking man could be a symbol for Bibi, since she is the foreigner in the group, being described as being from a different place than 1/3. But after last week's analysis video of Hasul's MV, I just thought about this being Hasul. Remember how Hasul's MV plays out in the snow desert, since the story of the little prince plays out in the Sahara? While people in the Sahara do not necessarily look like this, people from Saudi Arabia do, especially a prince would. And Saudi Arabia has really big, massive deserts as well. So I think that this might be a representation of the Loona 1/3 girls. So from the left, Yeojin, then Hyunjin, and then Hasul. It is like they want her to be part of their group. Remember how the first three members' relationship was shown to us in the Carol, where they gave each other presents and gifts for Christmas? Maybe they wanted to include Yeojin, which is why the princess gave her gifts. Now, these outfits remind me of all of the white and red outfits of the 1/3 subunit that they wore while they were promoting their album, and there are also 4 dancers around her, so this could be Loona 1/3. So one of the 1/3 members wants to give Yeojin a gift, when all of a sudden a frog prince steps in, holding a gift as well, and standing under a chandelier. Chandeliers again being something that is featured in the YYY members MVs. Now we see Yeojin waking up from this nightmare, but it does feel like this is the other way around. In this version, everything in her room seems fake. The plants, the door, the window, and even the chandelier. they are made out of paper. Now we see pictures of the princess, but when we see the overall room again, we see that these pictures aren't actually there. And this time we also see a foreshadowing of Bibi. This looks like the boy from the manhwa Bibi was reading in her MV. So now with all of these 4 pictures, we do get all of the 1/3 members represented. It is also interesting that only after she wakes up in this fake world is there a representation for Bibi. Just like Bibi only became part of Loona 1/3 after Yeojin went missing, and just like Bibi exiting Eden made Yeojin being lost in the forest in Eden. Now we see that the frog was real, but Yeojin is so shocked that she faints. Well, we do see Cherry faint after she travels through realms, but that surely is unrelated. Also, Yeojin seeing the frog in this TV that looks like the TV in the Love Cherry Motion MV. Now we get a scene of the frog prince hanging from the ceiling. This reminds me of the One and Only MV, where Cherry meets Go-won in a similar manner. Now we get to see Yeojin wearing her 1/3 gifted shoes, and we see 3 frogs in the back, most likely Heejin, Hyunjin, and Hasul. And then the close-ups of the piano show her bare feet. This definitely lets us know that Yeojin is an unreliable narrator. Are there things on her bed or not? Does she wear the shoes or not? We don't really know, since the roses and the shoes are shown so shortly after one another, and since the shoes and the roses were seen in the beginning as a gift to Yeojin. I feel like this could be a way of showing us that the 1/3 members are trying to get Yeojin out of Eden by persuading her or maybe even tricking her like Kimlip and Jinsul do to Cherry when they give her a cherry on top of a cake without her knowledge of the cherries being able to transport her through realms. Now Yeojin is wearing a pink, red and purple outfit while running away from the frog. Does this running away hallway scene remind you of anything? So this is also quite interesting. On this table are strawberries, Chuu's assigned fruit, but also a bunch of cheese and eggs, and on the other side there are a bunch of sour worm gummies. Yeojin eats a kind of normal breakfast, while the frog again wants her to eat something he would like, in this case gummy worms. Also, the orange soda can is kind of interesting, since I was thinking about what Yeojin's assigned fruit could be, and I thought of oranges. Also in the background you can literally see the forest she's lost in, like the building in Eden is surrounded by the forest, and earlier on the city skyline we saw out of the window could be described as an urban forest or jungle. Again, the frog pressures Yeojin to do what he wants, in this case to eat this, to us, disgusting looking cake, but again, to the frog this would be delicious, since frogs like to eat flies. I think the frog wants the best for Yeojin, but just like Eve tries to do something good for the members, she just brute forces them to do something they are not ready for or just plain right don't want to do. So even though they kind of mean it in a good way, the members don't perceive it as that. So the delicious cake to the frog seems like a disgusting cake to Yeojin. Also, she faints again, so this kind of could be a reference to the assigned fruits making you faint while you're traveling through realms. And again, she faints when she's holding up this food, like Cherry in Love Cherry Motion, and also I'm just going to mention it now, but the prince is wearing a purple suit with dollar signs on it, Cherry's assigned color is purple, and she often wears crystals. You could say that she's wearing money. Yeah, I don't know, but it seems to fit, kind of. I think that this early on, Cherry's role was probably planned out to function more like Eve's role. Like, instead of Eve trying to get the members out of Eden and tainting them to sin for her, maybe Cherry would have been the one to try to get the members to exit Eden, but I don't know. Well, the water is fake, but there are 2 orange fishes in the bowl, and they do kind of look like the fishes in Jinsul's MV. Now, more of the frog trying to get Yeojin to kiss her / sin and eat her fruit, since again this is some sour worm gummy. Next, they sit under this one and only look-alike chandelier, and just like with Hasul and Chuu's MV, we see a black void. Now let me reach a little, but what if Cherry got Yeojin to come to Middle-earth and she really was close to making Yeojin eat her fruit and exiting Eden for good? But then again she got scared and ran away. This would fit the whole motive of them potentially kissing but ending up not kissing again and again. After all, Yeojin doesn't want to end up like BB. This would also explain why even though Yeojin doesn't want to kiss the frog, she does not avoid him totally. At the end, they brushed their teeth together, kind of like they have a shared routine, and kind of like they actually are some type of friends. And also another thing I just thought about, the YYY album is called Beauty and the Beat. The members are looked upon with great care, and they have to dance and wear perfectly clean uniforms. And it just feels like they're made to be the perfect beauties, you know? And I kind of think that Yeojin brushing her teeth, getting ready to sleep, and then putting on makeup is kind of interesting. You would think that at night it doesn't really matter how you look like, but Yeojin does care. At the end, we don't really know if she kisses the frog or not, but it is implied that she did, in fact, not. So how would this fit into the story of the Frog Prince? Well, in a way, Yeojin has both attributes of the frog and the princess. As we know, Yeojin always was a bear before being cursed. I'm strongly guessing that this has something to do with her being trapped in Eden. In the My Melody MV, she is on Earth with Hassel and she has a bear plush with her. When she is in Eden though, her animal changes to a frog. She is literally cursed to being trapped in this forest as a frog. Trapped in Eden, where they want to form Yeojin into a different person, into a frog person perhaps. This is why she states herself that even though she thought she was a bear, it turns out that she was a frog all along. This to me sounds like she was convinced by Eden that she is somebody different, that she actually belongs in Eden, and, well, that she is a frog. On the other hand, Yeojin has the role of the princess as well. She is pursued by a frog into kissing it, and she really doesn't want to. In the story of the Frog Prince, the princess is sleeping in the same bed as the frog, but again, this is often changed into kissing. So Yeojin is the one who has the power to free the frog from its curse, while she herself is the frog that is cursed. So in a way, she is the only one that is able to save herself. And this fits in really well with the YYY story, since all of the YYY members are only able to exit Eden once they outgrow themselves and change themselves into loving themselves and accepting their imperfections. So Yeojin is the only one that can save herself, just like all of the other YYY members. So what does this mean? So this to me means that the Frog Prince is less of an actual frog that wants to kiss Yeojin, and more so someone that wants to cure Yeojin of her curse by kissing her / helping her to become her true self. I think that this could be Cherry trying to make Yeojin realize that Eden is not a paradise, since she is the one most affected by their propaganda. After all, she is the youngest of the members. But Yeojin refuses to change herself and to grow up. She wants to live in her fantasy world forever. At the same time though, she seems to be happy about her friends returning to her. Until at the end she even seems to consider sinning to be able to return to her best friend. But she still cannot do it. She is just too scared. And that would also explain why she seems to be grossed out by the end of the MV. She thinks something as mature as kissing someone is disgusting. And the princess in some stories where she has to kiss the frog is disgusted by the frog and wants to get away from him as well. Until she just gives in and it turns out to be kind of a happy end for her. Since I feel like Yeojin's whole song is about consent, it makes sense that she does not give in and does not kiss the frog at the end. And does not kiss the frog just to get her quote-unquote happy end. Instead, she has to go to terms with her indecisiveness and has to make her own decisions. For now, she doesn't want to exit Eden. But we do know that she isn't closed off to the idea, because she definitely thinks about it, and also in the Hi Hi MV she is together with Hassel again, so she does get her happy end after all, but it just happens later for her than the other members, just like Olivia Hay takes a bit longer than the other YY members. So Yeojin defies her fairy tale, and instead of being disrespected, she makes her boundaries clear and creates her own path towards exiting Eden, instead of blindly following the others. I feel like this is a nice conclusion to the MV, so as always, thanks for watching, and if you liked the video, you can like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Until next week with the final episode of the Loona Fairy Tales episodes. For now, at least.